Hello valued viewers, and we hope you're all doing extremely well. So today we're looking at anti-ship missiles. Now if you think we've already done a video on this, then we have, but we're going to expand it. So let me show you what we've got at the moment. We've got a video, and these links will be in the video description of the video you're watching now, so just scroll down to the video description and you'll see all these. We've got an anti-ship missiles of DCS video. It goes over the 5 missiles, I think it's 5 now, we've got in DCS that we can use, and thorough testing and comparison video we've got there if you want to go and look on that link. We've also got air-to-air missiles in DCS, lots of them obviously, you can go and look at them in that link there. We've got air-to-ground missiles used in DCS, lots of them, Mavericks and all sorts, and you can go and see them in that video there, and one about bombs that are in DCS and usable in DCS, and you can go and look at them there. Now the reason we're doing anti-ship missiles is because we figured it needs a bit more expanding upon. We've only got 4 or 5 anti-ship missiles we can actually use in DCS, but the thing about anti-ship missiles is they are prolific in real life. There are so many different types, and not just different types, not just different models, but different types: hypersonic, subsonic, supersonic, all these massive amount of anti-ship missiles. We figured it needs a proper video, so we called on the help of our follower and our friend Ivan from Bulgaria, and he's put together loads of information on these anti-ship missiles, more than I thought existed. And the only problem with that is there's literally too much information for us to cover in this video. This would literally be a 3 or 4 hour video and no one would watch it, and rightly so, it would just be too long. So we're going to change what we do in this case. So with the help of RC, what we've done is we've created this. This is a presentation for you guys to go and look at, and I'll just put it in a browser now. Bring up a browser of your choosing, and I'm going to put it in. This is the presentation. Looks very simple, and we're going to zoom in there a little bit. This picture we just grabbed off Google here. Thank you very much for that. Anti-ship missiles in service 2015. Figured that'd be a really good place to start. All the different missiles here throughout the world are in service in 2015. And what you do is you click on one of them. We put hyperlinks in them, and they'll jump to the information that Ivan's put together on that missile. For missiles that are not displayed here, or areas that are not displayed here, we've got some extra missiles up here that we don't have pictures of, and we've got extra information here. History and facts, anti-ship missiles of the world, different costings of the missiles. So everything is driven from here. I've given you a link to this, so you can go in here and just look at this to your satisfaction. So what we're going to do in this video that you're watching now is just have a peruse and just a look at this, and then if you want more information, you click on this link and you come and follow it yourself. So to reiterate, these here are the missiles in active service of 2015. Here are historical missiles, and we've just picked, I mean there's loads more than this, but we've just picked ones of particular interest, especially the Sea Eagle. And here we've got anti-ship missiles, history and facts. Sorry, let me just click that link. And it starts before the ASM in Japanese World War II concept, etymology and history, and you can come and read here why ASMs were developed in the first place, what was the need for them, and how were they developed. We won't go any further over that, but it's an interesting read. We've got ASMs of the world here. It's a document that we put together, or I even put together here. This is not even all the ones in the world. This is just, if you like, the main ones, and this shows how prolific this is. So we've got China here, and look at the massive amount of anti-ship missiles we've got here. Just a huge amount. In DCS, we've got that, we've got that, I think we've got a silkworm. I think we do, don't we? Or we've got a derivative of it. I think that's all we've got. It just shows how many of these things there are. We've got France here, none of these in DCS, but Exocet, I suppose, will be the most well-known one, as it blew up a British ship. Germany, I don't know any of those, I'm afraid. Maybe the Fritz from World War II, I think that was. Anti-ship missiles of India, don't know any of those. Anti-ship missiles of Iran, don't know any of those. Anti-ship missiles of Italy, don't know any of those. Anti-ship missiles of Japan, don't know any of those. Norway, Penguin, I do know the Penguin, so that's there. And I guess the Naval Strike Missile must be their contemporary, I'm not sure. Russia, Russia's got some really interesting ones as well. They've got some hypersonics, they've got some really weird stuff going on. The only one in DCS, I know DCS has got KH-22, massive things. They launch at several times the speed of sound to go up to 100,000 feet and then dive down. It's a massive, big kinetic killer with a thumping rate warhead. I think we might have a KH-15, I can't remember. Soviet Union, oh, I mean, you got repeated again here, that and that. I can't remember if we've got a 22 in DCS or not. Anti-ship missiles.
I don't think we do.
No, I can't. There's so many that are fired by ships and stuff like that we never even really check out. Sweden, we've got two of these. We've got the RB04 in Sweden, the Swedish RB04, and we've got the RB15F. We don't think we've got the RB08. United Kingdom, we do have the Sea Eagle. I think that's extinct nowadays, but we do have that. No, I recognise all these names, but we don't have that, and we don't have a Sea Skua. I wonder what fire shoots the Sea Skua. I can't remember. Anti-ship missiles. Oh, that was Cold War, and this is anti-ship missiles of United Kingdom. I don't know if these are historic or contemporary, and I've never heard of them. Surprisingly, they're quite a lot there for UK RC. Anti-ship missiles of United States. You know what? I don't know any of these. Slammer is a variant of the Harpoon. Yeah.
It's a air-to-ground Harpoon, basically.
Right, of that there. Right, yeah. And we are going to be getting that at some point in DCS. Nothing else I think we have. I've heard of Kingfisher, but I don't think we've got it. And all the rest, I just don't know about. Haven't got a clue, I'll see.
The Sea Skua was launched by a helicopter.
Ah, that's why it's ringing a bell. It's the small one, isn't it? Yeah, cool.
By the Lynx.
Roger, we'll go through that in a bit, I'll see. So that's to give you a flavour of what's out there in the last few decades. And like Ivan says, this is not everything, and that shows how big this thing actually is. It's a massive amount of ship killing ability in the world over the history. Before we go and look at some examples, why don't we look at some costs? Let's go look at range versus development CSBA. Stand by. What we've got along the bottom are different, I'm not sure how to describe these. These are not missiles per se, are they, apart from the Tomahawk? These are...
They're categories.
Classifications? Yeah, classifications. Yeah. You've got an acronym kind of down at the bottom there, and I'm not going to be able to translate all these acronyms, but you can look them up very easily. And it's simply range in kilometres versus the cost in millions of dollars for the project, presumably. And you can see that the most efficient, so what you're looking for is the biggest blue bar with the smallest red bar. So the maximum range of the missile with the smallest cost. And that's going to be, I guess you'd say, the Tomahawk, anti-land and anti-ship of, well, near on 1,000 miles for only, let's say, only $100 million. So why that was so cheap compared to the others, no idea. Presumably it's just using a lot of traditional technology. It's not pushing their limits. I don't really know. I mean, you've got things here like the ballistic anti-ship missile PRSMEL. I don't know what that means, but that can only go 750 clicks and it's cost nearly $1 billion. Any idea what that is, RC? PRSMEL. I don't know what that is. It'd be interesting to look at that at some point.
It's a precision strike missile.
Roger.
Extended range.
Thank you. Then we've got ballistic up here for land attack and anti-ship with 4,000 kilometres, nearly 3,000 miles. IRBM, I'm not sure what IRBM is, and hypersonics. Obviously.
Intermediate range ballistic missile.
Thank you. And hypersonic. And these are over $1 billion project cost, but over 4,000 miles. Anyway, so it's just purely of interest. If you want to look into that further, then that's cool. And we've got cost per missile shot. So this is per missile in millions. Notional weapons with approximate cost per shot estimated based on historical data. So we've got is it in any order? Not really. But again, so Tomahawk anti-ship, for some reason, is much more expensive than the land. Maybe that's just because there was less units made or something like that. And what we've got is those really expensive ones. So the IRBM or the hypersonics, $23 million per shot. That's like as much as a small fighter aeroplane. That's wow. Imagine firing one of those. That's expensive missile, RC.
I think, like I said, I think that's why the U.S. doesn't have hypersonic anti-ship, because they're so expensive.
So expensive, yeah, absolutely. So next we're going to go and have a look at some missiles, I suppose. So back to the master sheet. Right, where do we go, Mr. RC? How about we go with one that we know, RBS-15. Now, we don't get the RBS-15 in DCS, we get the RB-15F, I think it is, an older version, simply because that's the historical time that our aircraft was available. I'm going to click on him here, and this is the contemporary version of it. Now, I've seen one of these in real life, and they look, as far as I can see, identical to the RB-15F. I couldn't see any differences, but obviously there is the RBS Robo. I love that robot system. So the robot, the word for missile in Swedish is robot. Robot system 1.5 is a long firing, fire and forget surface to surface, and air to surface. Now I'm going to stop right there. Because the RB-15F in DCS is an anti-ship missile, but you can actually use it for ground attack. We've used it to bomb runways and stuff. Any idea if the RB-15 is supposed to be air to surface, the one that we get, or not, RC? I don't really know the answer. I don't suppose you do either.
I mean, it can be used as that. Like you said, it can be set up to hit surface targets.
Roger. Okay. The ability to attack and land targets as well. The missile was developed by the Swedish company Saab Bofors Dynamics. It was developed from the RB-04, which is the older missile that was used by the Swedish Air Force. The front of the missile was retained, including the warhead. I didn't know that. But the rear received new wings, turbofan engine, replaced the rocket previously used. The RB-15 underwent trials. FAC HMS of that in 1983 became operational in 1985. I'm going to have a look quick down here. Versions. So the RBS... no, I apologise. It appears that we did have the RBS. I just didn't realise the S was on there in our version. That's interesting. So RBS...
They don't have it.
Roger.
In DCS, they don't have the S.
Right, so that's what's caused confusion. So the RBS 15 Mark 1, powered by a French micro-turbo TRI-60 engine with a thrust of 380... 830 pounds, range of 70 kilometres plus. Then the RBS... And if anyone knows what the S means, then let me know, because we have an RB-15 in DCS. It must be just a naming thing.
I think it's the S for system, robot system.
Right, now I'm learning here. Obviously, we haven't prepared for this. You know, it would take hours to prepare all for this. And what we can see here, the F is actually just the air launch version. That's all it is. It's the air launch version. So what we get is just the RBS-15 air launch version into service in 1989. Wasn't aware of that. Interesting. Mark II, and it had a range of about 70 kilometres, and that's exactly what we find in DCS. 75 kilometres is the most we've found. RBS-15 Mark II, range 70 plus kilometres, designed to be launched for a number of different platforms, such as land-based launchers, aircraft and ships. So it's more of a generic Mark II version. The 15SF Mark II version for Finland. Okay. 3, range over 200 kilometres. So I wonder how they got such a big range increase. It must have been maybe efficiency of the turbojet or something. That's all I can think of. Land attack ability, new warhead, increased penetration, and in sensitive munitions qualification, whatever that means, from TDW, there is only a ship launch version, and then we've got the 15FER, extended range, I'm guessing, which is the aeroplane version of the Mark III, which must be in the 2000s or something like that. And there's more and more and more. You can see we're going into the contemporary and the future with the Gripen. Surface air missile, Sweden, Saab Bofors, mass 800 kilos. That's actually light. I found it when I was doing my other comparison videos. It was a lot heavier, but there's all these different versions. It could be any of them. Length, diameter, 200 kilo, high explosive blast frag warhead, impacts or proximity, so you can change the fusing on it. I remember turbojet. Operational range depends on the version. Wow, 300 plus kilometers for that one there. How interesting. Must be efficiency of turbojet. Sea skimming, that's true. Subsonic, that's true. So it's got inertial, at least the later versions, inertial INS and GPS, and obviously its own radar for terminal zone. Here's it on a Gripen. Here's it on a Gripen. Oh wow, you've seen the one of it launched by Vic? Is that cool or is that cool? It's got little rocket boosters on it to send it on its way.
Yeah.
You see that? That's amazing. And you've got a nice little...
It's basically like a Harpoon is an anti-ship weapon, but a Slammer is a Harpoon or air-to-ground weapon, or surface to air-to-ground,
Yeah. So it's just...
So this is the same thing. It can be used in many different ways.
Yeah, it's the same as an 84. It's just the Swedish equivalent of it, and obviously it looks a little different and whatnot. One thing I'd loved so much to get a hold of one of the motors of these turbojets. How cool would that be? And think how powerful they are. Nearly 1,000 pounds of thrust you've got there, and they're tiny. I've seen one bought before, and they're like the size of a handbag. Whatever that size is, like a lady's handbag, and it was generating like 1,000 pounds of thrust, which is a massive amount. It's like, I can't remember the horsepower the equivalent is, but it's a lot. It gulps down fuel.
Put it on the back of your car.
You've seen a Gripen before at the bottom. Now that is an anti-ship weapon. Look at that.
Yeah.
They're a lot bigger than the Harpoons, like just chunk. No, actually, I think that might be wrong. I think that might be the wrong thing to say, because in weight, I think they're actually about the same. It's just the Harpoons are longer and skinnier. Right, that's the RBS-15. Like I said, we're not going into super detail here because just no one has time to study all this, but we're just doing it for fun. Skua. Oh, was that Norway? I remember that from old books I used to look at.
No, that's British.
Oh, is it? Oh, God. Right. Shows what I know. Stand by for Sea Skua. Right, I haven't got a chance. I can't read through all of this, but the Sea Skua is a British lightweight, short-range, air-to-surface missile. Air-to-surface missile designed for use in helicopters against ships. It's primarily used in the Royal Navy on the Western Links. Oh, I remember that. Cool. Although the missile is intended for helicopter use, Kuwait employs it in a shore battery and their UM-AI Maraudon combatant BR-42 fast-attack craft. The BAC began development of the weapon in May 1972. The British government authorised production in 1975. At the time, the missile was known as CL-834. In November 1979, the first launches took place at Aberporth range in Cardigan Bay. 3 missiles were launched from the ground, but 3 helicopters. Further tests were made in July 1981 for highest full scale. Okay, so we're going to go down. Service, Falklands War, First Gulf War. Surface anti-ship missile service, because it's quite small, it'll be interesting to see how it's put together. Service 1982, makers 1975, mass tiny. Bearing in mind that RB-15 was 800 kilos. This is 145 kilos. It can't do much damage, surely. Can't be using it.
Got to go on a helicopter, so it can't be huge.
That's not taking down a cruiser, though, is it?
No.
Length. It's very small. Warhead 30 kilos. Now, don't get me wrong, that will blow your house up, but it's not, like I said, it's not going to blow a cruiser up. Impact fuse, delay detonation. So this is designed to punch in and cause internal damage and disruption, isn't it?
Yep.
Or I'm guessing.
Right.
No, it's an impact fuse with delay detonation, yeah.
With delay detonation.
Interesting. It's a solid fuel booster rather than a solid fuel sustainer. I'm not actually sure what that means. I'm going to leave that because I've never heard of a solid fuel sustainer before. It just sounds like a rocket engine to me, though. Operational range, about 18 miles, something like that. It's a fair old distance. Subsonic. Semi-active radar homing. Now this is interesting. It's got no INS, no GPS link. It's purely semi-active radar homing. Now is that from the mothership, or does it have its own radar? I'm guessing it must have its own little radar. But I don't know that. It might be driven by the links. Be interesting if anyone out there knows a bit more. Oh look, they can see them on the side of the links. You've seen that?
Yeah.
Oh, some of them are small, but they're massive. Look at the size of those missiles. That can't be a Sea Skua. I guess it is.
So I believe that the solid fuel sustainer means that the engine stays with the missile rather than being ejected.
Okay, fair enough. So it's a rocket motor, which is why I can't go very far. Yeah. I'm surprised they can't get it supersonic. I guess they just didn't want it. I guess they have more of a long-burning rocket motor than I think
it's got a booster and a sustainer. So it has a booster that probably falls off, and then a sustainer that keeps it.
Interesting.
Moving.
Very interesting. Right. Sea Skua, very good. And it's still in use. 2015. Very good. Penguin. Again, I remember this from the olden days. Let's go and have... Oops, the file is too large to preview. Oh. Well, you're going to have to go and download that one because it's too large to preview, so be it. Naval Strike Missile. Harpoon. We know about that one. Again, it said it was too large to preview on my computer, so I've just downloaded it instead. Harpoon. Harpoon is an all-weather, over-the-horizon anti-ship missile developed by McDonnell Douglas, now Boeing Defense. Standoff attack missile SLAM is a land version variant. The regular Harpoon uses active radar homing and just flies above the water to evade defenses. Technically, well, yeah, it's true, but it can actually glide mid-term before terminal, can't it? At any altitude. The missile can be launched from fixed-wing aircraft like the Hornet, surface ships, submarines. Didn't know that. Coastal defense batteries. Didn't know that. Development. In 1965, the States began to study the missile in a 45-kilometer range, and it's gone through there. It's had several upgrades. Versions. Harpoon Block 1D. The version featured a larger tank, and where are we? We've got the SLAM 1G, 1J, Block 2. Any idea which one we've got? Block 2, Block 3, Block 2 Plus. Is the RGM-80? I think... I don't know which one we've got, RC. It just says AGM-84D for us.
The D version.
Right. Can you see which one's the D version? There's J.
The very last line. Block 1C provided a selectable terminal attack mode.
I missed that. Designated. Yeah, right. But when used to terminal attack mode, it included pop-up to approximately 1800 meters before diving on the target block and be emitted. The terminal pop-up 1C provided a selectable terminal mode. Yep, that's what we've got, Block 1C. Okay, so, and then we've got all these extra versions. What else have we got? Power plant, 60 pound. And it has obviously the rockets to send it from, static places, obviously. Length 4 meters. Weight, what kind of weight we got on this thing? Okay, so it's much lighter than the RB15. I did think it looked smaller. Heavier, obviously, from the from the ground static places. Range. There's ours. AGM-84D Block 1C. It was 200 kilometers. Didn't Wag say it was like... Oh, no, he said in miles. I forgot what you said the range was. But there you go. About 150 miles, something like that. Oh, sorry, 120 miles. Nautical miles. Okay. And all the different versions. And they go all the way up to 150 nautical miles. There's not been a huge increase. Or actually, 170 nautical miles is there. So, various different uses. High-speed supersonic around 460 knots. Sea skimming cruise monitored by radar altimeter. Active radar. Terminal homing. I thought it was a bit more intelligent than that. I thought it had... it must have INS on board. And I thought it even might have GPS. I'm not sure. Stand to be corrected. Warhead 220 kilos. Penetration high explosive blast. Similar to the RB. Cost $1.5... Wow. Why do they cost so much? $1.5 million. I guess there's a lot of tech in there, RC. Radar and all that stuff must be. Just imagine it all gets blown up as soon as it's hit the target.
That's the problem with it. Expensive and then they're gone. Disposable.
So use a harpoon to kill a ship that only costs $1 million. No, they wouldn't do that, obviously, but cool. And just look at some pictures. They've got an arm launch version. I didn't know that. Oh, of course, I did know that was a thing. Scratch it out. Yeah. So you got tube launched, which seems to be the most common. We've got on an F-18 or whatever there. You've got what I can only guess is a submarine launch, but I've never seen that kind of launch, whatever that is. We've got an arm launch, and that's all we've got there. What we didn't see is VLS. I think it can be used on VLS as well, but I stand to be corrected. Right, that's the 84, of which we have one variant active in DCS at the moment that we can actually fire. Very interesting.
I think the initial block we have is only radar guided.
Oh, really?
Later on, they came up with GPS. The Block 2s have GPS and INS.
And what we can do is program our harpoons to get to a certain distance and then turn a certain angle. Do you remember that? You can fire it and say after 100 miles, turn left this amount or right this amount.
So it should have some kind of navigation.
We must have a basic INS in there. But anyway, Neil, just not worried too much about that. Otomat, I just saw this as Italy. We're going to have a little look in here. Now, we don't have this in DCS. Otomat's Mark II Block 4 is an all-weather subsonic long-range sea skimming. So this is one that's been developed over decades. I mean, they've all been developed over decades, or most of them. Sea skimming anti-ship missile with extended capabilities for littoral warfare, whatever that means, and coastal attack missions. Block can be retargeted and carry out coordinated attacks. It sounds intelligent. It can be installed on differing fighting ships from small fast patrol boats, large destroyers, cruisers. The name comes from the first versions from the name of the two builders, Otto and Matra. Matra, they make missiles as well, don't they? And for later version, Tizio, for the Italian word for Theseus? Okay. I'm not going to read through all that. Medium range, anti-ship missile and land attack missile, French, Italian. Manufacturer, it's 800 kilos, so it looks not too dissimilar from the RB15, I would say. I don't know, maybe you'll disagree with that. Kind of thickness and length. Same weight as an RB15. Warhead's the same as an RB15. Impacts and proximity, same fusing as the RB. Turbojet is same. Doesn't tell us the power of it, does it? No. It's a lot, interestingly, although it's the same size and weight as an RB15, it's got a lot higher range. That said, this is obviously a contemporary model that we've got the figures here for, so it's probably similar to the RB15 contemporary. Min range 4,000. Oh right, speed. It's just transonic, verging on transonic, I suppose you'd call that. Guidance system is INS, GPS, and active radar homing. So it's going to be another expensive missile with its own radar and whatnot. Looks a really cool piece of kit. Look at it coming out of the tube. You've seen that?
Yeah.
Look, there has a tube the same shape as it. That's interesting.
Yeah. Why? Oh, all the fins fold down.
So this is ship to ship. So it's not really DCS related, but it's interesting. Yeah. Okay, I'll see. Very good. Next, I'm going to jump to the Exocet because I know that attacked a British ship in the Falklands. So it's an interesting bit of history. Exocet, French for flying fish, is a French-built anti-ship missile whose various versions can be launched from several service vessels, submarines, helicopters, and fixed-wing aircraft. It was launched by, was it Mirage or A4 Skyhawk? I can't remember. In the Falklands, it will say in here somewhere. Again, I haven't really got time to read through it all. The Exocet has been manufactured in versions including surface-launched, helicopter-launched, air-launched, submarine-launched, and surface-launched again. Combat use Falklands War in 1982 during the Argentine Navy Dassault Breguet Super Attendant. I was the Attendant warplanes carrying the AM-39 air-launched version of the Exocet caused damage, which I didn't realize it sank the destroyer. God, we've got to do some research on that at some point. On 4th May 1982, I was 1 or 2 years old. 2 years old at the time. 2 Exocets then struck 15,000-ton merchant ship Atlantic Conveyor on 25th May. The missile had been fired at a frigate, but then had been confused by the frigate's defences. I wonder if it was confused by ECM or chaff and that kind of stuff that it sends out. That'd be interesting to know. And instead targeted Atlantic Conveyor nearby. And that is a problem with these missiles. They are fire and forget, like an AMRAAM. And they'll attack what they think is the target. And that might not be the right target. It was all removed from one destroyer, a retired US vessel, and transferred to an improvised launcher for land use. Technically, challenging task which required reprogramming, blah, 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 blah. Very good. And around Iraq War, late 80s. And ship missiles, France. 1972 to present, obviously it's been through several variations. Again, mass 700 kilos. It's a little bit of a smaller warhead, but, that is still going to blow a ship up. 165 kilos. That's
sank a destroyer.
That's the equivalent of a Mark 82 in terms of actual, TNT. Yeah, sank a destroyer. It must have hit it right on the doodah, on the sea line, I presume. Solid propellant engine, at least for the land launch versions, and then a turbojet, obviously, for the all of them, I guess. Hang on, actually, I don't quite understand that. Solid propellant engine, turbojet, is presumably...
Turbojet was only the MM40 Block 3 version.
But that means the others are just solid propellant, which means they can't have hardly any range at all. But you never... Okay, I'm going to keep going. Operational range, 70, so it's down to kind of 40 miles, up to kind of 100 miles. But you're never going to get a solid rocket motor drive the thing 40 miles. Well, I stand to be corrected, obviously, but interesting. Okay, well, we'll try and get some more clarification on that. Sea skimming, transonic, INS, no GPS, and terminal active radar homing, as ever. There's the Super Attendant that we may or may not get in DCS, we'll see. Carrying them, that's pretty cool. Very good. And that's a Rafale carrying one in the middle. A new version, modern version. Very good, very good. I'm thoroughly enjoying this, and I'm learning as I go. But I
question is are the AIM-54s, are they solid fuel? They can go.
Yes, of course they are. So that's just a solid fuel,
right,
single burner. The only reason they get their distance is because the motor is so big, especially on the Mark 60, and it's because of the altitude. RC. The reason they go so high is because they go so far is because they go so high, where they can just literally glide with almost no friction. If you fire one down low, you'll be lucky to see very lucky to see 10 miles out of it.
I'm guessing that bulk of this missile is solid fuel, so it can get that range.
Maybe it is. I didn't even know. I mean, we'll see what the viewers think. I don't know. I haven't really got time to go into it any further at the moment, but it's interesting. It is big though. It is big though. If you look at the size of it compared to the Harpoon, I've just realised it's 50% longer than the Harpoon. Maybe you've got a thumping great solid motor in there. Why they would do that, I don't know. It won't get them any faster, or it doesn't get them any faster.
But it can get them farther.
It can't go farther than the Harpoon. It can go up to the range of a Harpoon, but I think that's with the turbojet installed. I'm assuming you've got a solid rocket version, which is the 40-mile version, and the turbojet version, which was the long-range version.
The turbojet could go in excess of 180 kilometers.
Yeah, 100 miles, 110 miles, something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, they're all just about figures then. What have we got next? I'll see. What should we go for next? I'm just studying these ranges and stuff. So next we've got some big things. In fact, before we go into the big boys, I should say here, you've got the size here compared to a man, look. So look at the miserable little things we've been looking at.
Yeah.
RB15, Penguin, Sea Skua, 84, Exocet, Otomat, and then look at the things we're going to be looking at. And you can see why these things are so expensive. Before we go on to those extremely interesting ones, let's go and have just a look at some slightly older. We're going to the Fricks X anti-ship bomb. I'm reading a book about, what am I reading a book about at the moment, RC? Oh, it's about shipping around Britain in World War II. And these Fritzes were dropped on, I can't remember, frigates or destroyers, I've forgotten.
Probably both.
And were guided, the world's first AGM, non-powered, radio guided. This Fritz may be something different, but it's probably going to turn out to be the same thing. And from that, you got the Bullpop, RB05, and from that you got the Walleye, from that you got the Maverick. Fritz is the most common name for the German guided anti-ship glide bomb used in World War II. Fritz X was the world's first precision-guided weapon deployed in combat, and the first to sink a ship in combat. I didn't know it actually sunk anything. It was nicknamed by Allied and Luftwaffe personnel. That may be a lot too much for me to read through at the moment, but yeah, it's definitely the thing I was thinking of. Combat use. It was first deployed on, 1943 raid on Augusta Harbour in Sicily. A number of the additional attacks around Sicily and Messina followed, though no confirmed hits. Allies were unaware of the large bombs had been dropped, were radio-guided weapons. So there's a guy in the aeroplane with, a joystick, and he guided the thing in. Pretty cool, huh? Very, not as intelligent as a Walleye, which has a sensor, but pretty cool. I mean, this is bullpup technology at the end of the day. Specifications: Nazi Germany, 1943 to 44. Max Creamer, mass. It's a big old thumper. It's a 3,000 pounder RC.
Yeah, that's huge.
I didn't realise they were that big. Warhead, whatever that is.
The warhead was small.
Which is interesting. I wonder why that is, RC.
This is the technology of the day in order to get it to do what they wanted to do.
Roger. Okay.
They didn't have the technology to make it small, so all that guidance equipment was probably big.
Right, amazing, isn't it? I can see it down there, RC. Actually,
that thing is huge.
It's a depressing-looking thing. I mean, I think the Nazis weren't very nice guys, but their side of the war generated some amazing tech, didn't they, for the time? It's really interesting stuff. Look at that. What did the British think of that when they saw that coming towards them for the first time, guiding into a ship? Very interesting. All right, anyway, that's that. Fritz, you can come and read about Fritz if you like. Next, I wouldn't be complete without the Sea Eagle. We'll quickly blast down it, if it allows me, just because it's English. And again, I've done a full video on these, a proper video. Oh, look, we've got some Sea Eagles carried by tornadoes. When are we getting tornadoes, please? Anti-ship missile, 1985 to present. I didn't think it was to present. I thought they were gone, but shows what I know. Produced 1982, 600 kilos, 230 kilo warhead, big old thumping warhead. Look, there's a Buccaneer with 4 of them. Oh! You know that sound? That sound is what you say when you see a cool aeroplane. And that is a cool aeroplane. Buccaneer.
I'll have to learn that sound.
You don't understand. You Americans don't understand what proper old Cold War planes were. They were proper. Awesome. Right. Sea Eagle there. Sea Eagle there. Sea Eagle there, which is cool. And this is similar to the RB15. It's not a rocket, it's a turbo jet in there. Same kind of range. We get it on the C101, which has some English weapons, or some British weapons, in DCS. 110 kilometers, about 60 miles, something like that. It has that DCS INS with active radar homing. Lovely piece of kit. Oh, there's a Nimrod in the background. I went on one of those. Did you see the video when I went on one of those?
Were you?
Last year. Martin got me a ride on one. Pretty sick.
Oh, yeah. I did see that.
Those three, again, look at these cool aeroplanes. Best aeroplanes ever built. This is what DCS needs, not another bloody Game Boy with screens all over it. Right, I'm going to stop now. Okay, that's that, just because we had to. Now we got onto some big boys. And a lot of these are in DCS. I can't tell you exactly which, because I just didn't know enough about them when I was looking at them. The KH-22's there. Let's have a look.
I believe the KH-22 is in DCS.
It definitely is.
As an AI.
That, yeah, you can't fire them, but they are there. You can put them on the backfires, and they're like half as long as. I flew in a Hornet along a backfire who had 3 of these on, and these measured nearly the same length as a Hornet. They are enormous machines. I just can't think what the first one to look at is, RC. I guess the first one to look at... I really don't know where to go.
The first 2 are the same.
Well,
Just different versions.
so we've got the P1500, which are similar versions of the same thing. Let's click on that. The buzz-out on the Vulcan, the Russian, I can't read that, is a turbojet-powered supersonic cruise missile used by the Soviet and Russian navies. Its ground designation is 4K80, and its NATO reporting name is SSN-12 Sandbox. Yeah, we've got Sandboxes. I've shot them before from ships. Modern version of the P1000 Vulcan bat. History developed by OKB-52 MAP. Later that it ended service to replace the Shadok, which I don't know. P500 Bazar was first deployed in 1975, so they're pretty old, RC. On the Soviet aircraft carrier Kiev, and was later adopted both the Echo 2 class submarine and the Juliet class submarine. A version of the Basalt with improved guidance and engines used on the Slava class cruiser. I think we've got a Slava class in DCS. I have to relook at that. 16 launches dominate the deck of the... yes, we have. Is it Moskva Slava? Or I can't remember, but... yeah, it is, isn't it? It's got 12 thumping great... 16 thumping great launchers on the deck that harry these sandboxes.
Yes.
Amazing piece of kit.
Moskva is a Slava class.
These massive weapons. The problem with them is they're just so big and expensive. Number of stages 2, dimensions big. I don't know what that is in feet. It's like nearly 40 feet or something. That is enormous. Wingspan performance, CEP 700 meter. What the hell does that mean? Don't know. Max range, and we're talking big, well, bigger than what we've looked at so far. Anyway, 270 nautical miles. Top speed Mach 2.5. So these are supersonic sons of guns. Warhead. Now, despite their high speed, I don't think they're actually high flying. We'll continue reading, but the sandboxes that I remember actually go relatively low. They're just designed to be fast. You can tell, look at the shot cone at the front there. Warhead weight, 1,000 kilos. So we've been looking at up to 200 kilos. Now we're up to a ton, metric ton, TNT or whatever. That is going to be a ship killer, RC. Weights, 5 tons. Yield, 350 kiloton nuke. That's a big old nuke in a relatively small missile.
The CEP is the circular error probable. Basically, it's concept and hit probability.
I mean, this thing, it's guided. It should hit exactly where it's guided to go.
Yeah, but there's always going to be an error in there. You know what I mean?
Okay. Probably have to research that bit. But it was active radar homing for terminal guidance, so that should be perfectly accurate and can receive mid-course corrections from the Tupolev Tu-95 Bear. Which is interesting. So it means that you can fire these things over the horizon, as we can do in DCS, and it can pick up guidance from bears or helicopters, as we've got there, to guide it part of the way. Because you're firing it over, literally around the world. This does not have a line of sight at whatever you're shooting at, as do same with all of these missiles. Missiles were intended to be used as salvo. Submarine can launch 8. I think we'll terminate that there. You've got the Slava cruiser there, showing one of these bad boys going off, maybe in a test firing, and the size of it there. It was developed into the P1000 Vulcan. History 1979, and first flew in 1982. 1993. Just different versions, as we can see, coming and going.
They actually mentioned that Moskva in this.
Oh, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was that. So we're on to the P1000 Vulcan, and max range 800 kilometers. So we've gone from 500 kilometers to 800 kilometers to P1000 Mach 2.8. Again, I think it's low flying. Warhead a ton again, or a nuke. Perhaps this dreadful missile system is to allow Soviet submarines and cruisers to engage aircraft strike areas from a safe range. A long way away. Very interesting. Wow, look at those pictures down there. That's amazing. Loading them onto the boat. What a piece of kit. Now you can tell it's supersonic because there's an intake cone. Do you see the intake cone on the intake to preconditioners? How interesting. And you've got solid rocket boosters there to start her off, and then the jet nozzle at the back there. Very interesting piece of engineering going on there, and it's lugging around a ton of warhead. You would not want that coming towards you, RC. That's my synopsis here. Right, really interesting. Really interesting. I'm going to pop out of here now, stand by.
Actually, that's a conventional warhead that yields 350 kilotons.
What? No, it's a nuke, RC.
Oh, is it a nuclear?
Of course it is, yeah. Otherwise, it would literally be a 350,000 ton TNT warhead.
Yeah.
And that's not very likely.
I didn't see on here where it actually said.
Okay. Next, we're going to go to... So we were looking at the Basel and the Vulcan there. Next, we're going to go to the KH-22. KH-22. So let's load him up.
Why did I not see in there that it said it was a nuclear weapon? Oh.
Because it's like 5
the
o'clock in the morning.
SSN is nuclear. N's for nuclear.
Roger. So KH-22, which we have in DCS, is a kitchen. Now, this is definitely a high-flying missile. I wasn't sure if the other one was a high-flying missile or not. This one's definitely a high-flying missile. It goes up high, 100,000 feet or something, and then dives down. And it's I'm not sure what its self-protection method is. From what we tested, its self-protection was purely speed. It comes down so fast that things can't stop it for that reason. The KH-22 Russian X-22 Kitchen, large long-range anti-ship missile developed by MKB Raduca and Soviet Union. KH-22 is called the AS-4 Kitchen by NATO. It's intended for use against Navy aircraft carriers and carrier battle groups with either a conventional nuclear warhead. The KH-22 Complex 22 weapons was developed by the Raduca Weapons Bureau. Used the ARM, the Tu-22 backfire, which is what we use in DCS. KH-22 is a liquid propellant, so it's a jet engine, long-range supersonic cruise missile designed for use in the Soviet medium bombers such as Tu-22 against a wide spectrum of targets and ships and air defense. And air defenses, wasn't aware of that. Okay, KH-22 can be equipped with either conventional, or nuclear warhead. Its guidance system is based on the INS, adding an active radar homing head for anti-ship applications. The active radar head guides KH-22 in its final stage of flight. Yeah. You can see here we're talking about Angels were up to 90,000 feet, which, that's basically what we got on DCS. Mach 3.5, and makes its high-speed dive into the target with a terminal speed of about Mach 4.6. So, like I said, its defense, RC, instead of sea skimming or any kind of radar activity, is literally to go in at nearly Mach 5. And to intercept something coming that fast, A, to see it in time, B, to actually do something about it, very hard. In DCS, to get a SM2 or whatever to come up and shoot one of these things down, it's extremely difficult to do, and you usually miss. Reason for that, I don't actually know, but, Okay, various types here. A specification. So it's it's a liquid fuel rocket. Right. I thought it was a liquid fuel. No, I didn't know it was a rocket. So this is like old tech, like old V2 tech, isn't it? I didn't know that. And of course, there's no intake. Right. So the difference between what we've just seen is that was a jet engine, and this is a liquid fuel rocket, which I had absolutely no idea. The size of that backfire in the background, RC. You see that?
Yeah.
Amazing. What an amazing piece of kit.
It looks just a rocket. That's what it is.
This is an old V2 with wings, basically.
Yeah.
So it's got that. I'd love to know how many pounds of thrust that has. Max cruising altitude, 80,000 feet. Max range, 500 kilometers. That's not bad for a rocket. Bearing it is a rocket and not a jet engine. One of the problems with these rocket engines is how unstable they are, because you generally tend to use two or more, or usually two, liquids, and then you explode them by mixing them together, and that creates the combustion. But as you know, anything like this, it's always very dangerous when loading these. You have to, load the fuel into these missiles. Very dangerous, not a very nice thing to do. Lots of potential there for problems. Flight ceiling. I'm not sure why it says that. I guess different variants. It must be different variants. Top speed is its terminal at Mach 4.6. That's its defense. Again, it's lugging around a ton of RDX. High explosive, which is just amazing. Or, of course, 1,000 kiloton thermonuclear H-bomb. Overkill?
It would be especially hard to defend it against if it was airburst. So
even if you, yeah, God, can you imagine? Weight 6 tons. There we go. Amazing piece of tech. Nasty weapons, but well, I guess all weapons are nasty at the end of the day. But the engineering in this thing, look at it. Amazing. That's a model. It's not real backfire, is it?
a little overkill.
Yeah, that's exactly as we saw it, and that may even be a shot from DCS. I don't know, but
yeah, no, that I mean not the picture. I'm talking the weapon itself. 1,000 kilotons for a ship.
Watch out! You have to convert the bomb bay. If you see, you convert the bomb bay in that backfire, like you did with the old the Vulcan and the Russian, in the English nukes that we had. You convert the engine bay to house them. Very interesting piece of kit. 6 tons per pylon. That's 18 tons of anti-ship missile you'd be carrying. You have to have some strong mounting lugs there. Really interesting stuff there. So we've looked at hypersonic, which is that basically. Interestingly, the ranges weren't that high. You see the ranges, 500 kilometers, and you're comparing them to the ranges of the, I don't know, I'm just going to go down to the RBS 15. That's a range of 200 plus kilometers.
That's because it's a rocket, so it'll burn its fuel quickly.
Yeah,
won't be able to get the range on.
I think I take that back.
I think
I'll take that back anyway. I mean, it is a long range at the end of the day. It is the maximum we've got down here. I was just looking is in the non-Soviet Union is about 200 kilometers. So you're suddenly doubling that, and so you can fire on people a long way away. So I think I take that back a bit. That's that RC, and we're going to have several other variants from within that family. I'm just looking if there's anything extra interesting that we can look at. Anything that you think we haven't covered before we set the viewers loose on this sheet?
No.
Okay, that must
a lot to cover.
There's a lot to cover. Yeah, like I said, if we go through this properly and do the proper research and everything, this is going to take a long time. So we've just given you a flavour what's in here. Please make use of this because Ivan's put a lot of work into this. Come and click on these and learn them, and then petition Wags & Co. to try and get some more added because they're pretty sweet weps, right? Otherwise, I hope that was useful and see you later.